we put in the record a quote from Sermons and Talks, page 289 and 290. And I'm just going to take a sentence or two out of here, where Sister White's talking about false prophetic application. And the one, if you have this handout, the one sentence that I'm going to dwell on is in boldface. It says, they do not see and understand the time of the end or when to locate the messages. So let me read a couple sentences to lead into that sentence. It says, they gathered together the truthfulness of the messages, but they failed to give them their proper place in prophetic history. So it's about where you're going to place the prophetic lines. Okay? Continues on. They gathered together the truthfulness of the messages, but they failed to give them their proper place in prophetic history. Therefore, such are in danger of misleading the people in regard to locating the messages. So it's about where you locate the messages. They do not see and understand the time of the end or when to locate the messages. Okay, so if you look carefully, her whole emphasis is about taking prophetic messages and to correctly apply them. What do you have to do? What two elements do you have to do correctly if you're going to apply the messages? Locate and understand. Locate, I'll buy. Understand.
Understand the time.
Yeah, when. You got to know the when and the where.
When and the where.
When and where to put these messages.
Yeah.
And the key of all this is they do not understand the time of the end. Okay, so you have to understand the time of the end in order to put the prophetic lines in their correct position. So when this opened up on January 11th, if you, on your other notes here, Daniel's last vision. Yes?
Also, at the top of that paragraph.
On the top of the paragraph.
Many are doing the same thing today in 897 because they have not had the experience in the testing message of the first, second, third angel's message. So when you take it back to the beginning of the Time of the End magazine, Daniel 11, they're making a mistake because they didn't have that experience from that time.
Yeah, there's the people that have left with Parminder and Tess, there's a lot of ways to categorize them. But the greatest majority of them came into this message long after 9/11. They weren't there from 1989 to 9/11, nor were they there for the first several years after 9/11. They didn't have that experience, and for our movement, the first angel arrived in 1989, the second in 9/11. So that it was easy for Parminder and Tess to say, oh, we really love and respect this magazine, it's a symbol of 1996, while at the same time Parminder and Tess are attacking every element of truth that's in this magazine. It was easy for those people not to know that that's what was happening because they didn't have an experience in this. This magazine was put into record in 1996. This is the formalization of the message. What are you asking that for?
Okay.
She was
I
thinking
thought
89.
time and then, yeah, okay, yep.
Yeah, we began studying it in 1989. And in 1995, at Hope International, we put one article a month into it. And by the time 1995 is over, then we produced this in 1996, which is the same year that we're given a 501c3 corporation to begin a ministry. And that 501c3 corporation was already several years old. And when you file for that with the government of the United States, you have to select a name, and that name was in place long before we knew anything about what was going to happen. And the name of that ministry was Future for America, which is the summation of this message here in this magazine. It's the future, it's the Sunday law in the United States and everything that comes after. What do you want to say?
I'm just asking, what was the name of the magazine where they initially appeared in?
Firm Foundation magazine.
Or Firm Foundation.
From Hope International.
Or Firm Foundation. Interesting.
Anyway, they do not see and understand where to. So if you have the other handout from today, which was a handout from before we left called Daniel's Last Vision. And I guess we're switching, we've ended this series that we've been doing and we're starting a new series and we're calling it Daniel's Last Vision. So this is number 1 of Daniel's Last Vision.
Like you took the stones of our firm foundation and put them together and built a platform which became the Time of the End magazine. If each article was a stone that went to build up the foundation.
Can you hear that?
Right?
Yeah, I get that prophetic logic, but don't
Was there
say it
12?
with your hand in front of your
I'm
mouth.
wondering, is there 12? Was there 12 articles?
Sometimes I think there's 12, you just have to go in and count them, but I think there might have been 11. I think there was a 1 month that it got missed. What people we never take time to understand is that the people that controlled Hope International, they did not want to print these articles. And every month there was an editorial committee meeting that went for hours and hours to try to prevent this magazine from being printed. And every month they decided, okay, go ahead, print it. Every month. It was one time, the office there at Hope International it sloped down into a little lake. You could walk out on the front porch of that office onto a porch and you could look at this lake. And one time they were trying to stop the publications of these articles, and all the staff was praying that they would get published, but the leaders, the theologians, they were fighting against it, and it went for several hours. I mean, probably 8 or 9 hours, the editorial committee. And the staff there would remember this if they would be honest. Most of them turned against the message now, so maybe they wouldn't be honest. But when it was all said and done and we were going to go ahead and print the next article, everyone walked from their offices out onto the porch, and over this lake there was a double rainbow. It was just, whoa. And you weren't there, but you heard the testimony of it. It took place. So, I mean, it was quite a history about getting this printed, but I think it was only 11 times. But how many chapters are there? That would tell you. Well, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11.
That is the 12th stone. When it's combined.
Yeah, and the number 11, what is the number 11?
The dream and the interpretation thereof.
Oh, that's the number 11's there, but where do we find the number 11? It's September 7th is number 11, because at that point Judas has been separated. Okay, the 11 is speaking to the 11 that are left after Judas is gone. So I never put the 11 in there, but yeah. Okay, this is the work we can. When we get to it, we'll show that this work that's going on right now is Elijah gathering the 12 stones and putting them together. That's what's happening right now. So 11 of them are probably here, and the capstone is this revelation of going down into the enemy's camp. Who knows? We're just waxing metaphorical at this point. Okay, so if you, on these notes, Daniel's Last Vision, if you turn to page 3, Sister Deborah pointed out yesterday that I had said that there's, I forget how many I said. How many?
22.
22 times at the end in Daniel's Last Vision. And so she was just expecting that there would be 22 lines. And I told her, no, I don't think there's 22 lines, because some of the time of the ends are the same time of the end, okay? So we'll look for that, but as we go through, but I want to tell you why, I want to familiarize you with what these time of the ends are before we start taking the histories that start at the time of the end